As I said again, today we'll be focusing on intents in serialization and know the details of it in detail today. So by the end of the session, we must all of us will have a clear-cut idea of what is intents and what is serialization, and how serialization helps the intents to do a better job. Also, okay. So today's session is about intents with a clear overview of the topic, and then we'll have different types of intents. Then we'll check how to build an intent. Later on, we'll go through serialization. First, we'll check the overview, and then we'll see how serialization works in Java, because serialization is a Java concept. I think most of you guys might be hearing this term for the very first time. If you are familiar with Java, you might have heard it. So today we'll try to understand what is the serialization in detail. And then we'll learn about different use cases of serialization and limitations of serialization. And then we'll see how the serialization can be implemented in HarmonyOS. Since it has some limitations, let's see how these limitations can be taken care of in HarmonyOS. And serialization is a general topic, so it will be helpful for you guys in your interviews or anywhere outside, anywhere if you want to code in Java, it will be very helpful if you know that topic in detail. Any queries or clarifications I am iterating, you can stop me and ask me at any point of time. Okay, to begin with, let's understand what exactly is intents. Intents, okay, if you go through the standard definition, it is an abstract description of an operation to be performed. In fact, you can call it as a description of any operation that you want to perform. You can also call it as some communication component within the system or within your device. Basically, it will consist of two important parts within it. That will be an intention, and then the parameters that will be available within the intent. So what is this intention as in? It is the action that the intent wants you to perform. So you're telling, for example, I'll give you an example so that you can understand clearly. You have two components, say A and B, or you have two abilities, because I think you are already aware of what is ability. So let's take the example of two abilities, say ability A and ability B. You want both of them to communicate with each other. How do you do it? We use intents. Okay. So basically you will tell what you want. The maybe A is your calling ability and B is your target ability. So you'll from A you'll pass an intent, and the intent you'll tell what action the ability B needs to perform, and then you'll set in few parameters also that will make sure it goes to the target ability, that is ability B. So basically that is what is explained here. So we'll go through it, and we'll try to understand again. The intent can be used in ability. Basically, if you want to start an target ability from the calling ability, you need to use this syntax, that is ability dot start ability. Within the parameters, you need to pass in the intent to start the target ability, then followed by the two main components within the intent, that is operation and parameters. Operation will define what action or what particular task it needs to carry, and parameters will contain some additional parameters. Say you want to pass in some data or some device ID, package name, all of that you can pass through these parameters which are present in intent. Now we'll check what are the different types of intents that we have in HarmonyOS. Basically, intents is a communication component. So what are the different types of communicating with each other? That one is explicitly you can communicate, and another is implicit. So what do you mean by explicit? Explicit as in, say, I'll put it in layman terms. Okay. Say I want to call someone explicitly. Usually I use a person's name, right? So similarly, here also what we do is we'll have to we need to mention the target abilities class name explicitly in your intent argument, so that particular target ability is explicitly called. So using that ability name, which is in italics over here, we can make sure that the intent is able to call the target ability. Okay, and now when it comes to implicit, let me give you an operation or an example from your own device which you are using. Maybe if you click on an hyperlink, you might have seen what happens is if you have multiple browsers installed in your device, you would have seen, if say example you have Chrome, and then if you have Opera Mini or Firefox, you click on an URL, you might see that your device will prompt saying which one you want to choose. If you have not set a default browser, it will ask you to choose one of the application, right? So there you're not specifying the target ability. Instead, you're just telling this action, saying, I want to open an URL, give me an application that can do this particular task. That is what is happening over here. Okay. So in HarmonyOS also, in case you have for a particular action, if you have multiple abilities, you will get this kind of dialogue over here that is present in the screenshot. Say, for example, you have specified an action in your intent. There are two abilities. So it will be listed out like this, and then user has to select one of the abilities so that he can go forward with the functionality that is present in that particular ability. Okay, any doubts still here?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Great. Okay, then let's get on with the next slide. Okay. How do we build an intent? So till now I've told you something theoretical. Now I'll show you some code snippets and how to do it. Later on, I'll code it in front of you guys, and then you can understand clearly how to do this practically. Maybe I'll definitely give you a hands-on session so that you'll clearly grasp this concept totally. Okay. Okay. How do we build an intent? Say a user wants to move from ability. A main ability is your calling ability, and user info ability, consider it as your target ability. Okay. So on click of a button in main ability, you want to transfer the control from main ability to user info ability. So how can you do it? As we have seen previously, you can do it in two ways. One is implicitly and explicitly. Now, when you say explicitly, it is using ability name, and when you say implicitly, that is using ability action. So with ability name, let's see how we can do it. So you define define the instance, or you initialize an instance of intent, and once you define this, you need to initialize an object of operation builder. I'll tell you why you need this. In this operation builder, you need to specify the device ID. This device ID can be null if it is a local communication. In case you are trying to communicate with some remote object or remote device, then you need to specify the exact device ID. Okay. Now, with bundle name, here you need to give the bundle name. Bundle name is nothing but your package name where your target ability is residing. That is user info ability, not the main ability. Make sure you're calling the target ability. Okay. Now this with ability name, since it is explicit call, you need to do this with ability name, that is user info ability name dot class dot get name. That will make sure it will give a string mentioning the total canonical name or your proper name of your class or your target ability. Once you do that, till now your operation builder is independent and your intent object is independent. How do you link this operation builder with your intent object? You do that using dot set operation, and then operation builder has a method called dot build. So that will return a operation object. Let me show it to you guys. You can always, okay. If you want to know some detailed explanation of any particular object, make sure you go to your SDK. I think this would have been already told to you, but I'm just reiterating so that you guys will have a better understanding. Just go to your SDK. And then index.html. Here you can find all the documentation of each and every So intent, if you want to know more about intent, just read about it over here. You get clear-cut explanation of each and every object. So now what I wanted to see was intent operation builder, right? Let's go there directly. Operation builder has a build method that will create an operation object. So when you do set operation, let me get back to my PPT. When I do set operation, it will return an operation object because set operation expects a operation object. So here your intent object is linked to your operation builder object. So once your operation builder is linked to your intent, simply call start ability function. That will make sure your target ability will get the call, and that will start operating from after this particular method call. Got it? This is how you do it explicitly using a ability name. Now let's check how you can do it using ability action. Okay. Ability action in the sense you're telling what kind of work it needs, the target ability needs to do. Based on that, it will try to, your system will try to find an ability which is having a particular action defined in its configuration file. So it will try to pick one ability which can do that particular action basically. So here action plays an important role, right? So this action needs to be registered somewhere in your config.json. I hope you guys know what is config.json. Config.json is a file that will be present in all of your HarmonyOS projects. Say in your entry module, you have basically this will be a structure in src main config.json. There is a file called config.json. Get in here, and then here you need to define your actions. You can already see for this, all your abilities basically will be listed out in your config.json file. So in here, if you see, your action is also defined. Here currently only action system home is defined. So in case you are defining any custom action, say your own action, you need to make sure that ability is configured with that particular action over here. Got it? This is how you register an action in your application. So once you do that, in your intent, in your Java code, you need to do this. That is your calling ability, main ability.java. Make sure you do the same operation. Create an intent object, then operation builder, then assign the device ID, that is nothing over here, with bundle name, that is a package name, action again, specify your user defined action. So like this, you need to define, as I showed you just now in config.json, you need to define that. And then intent.set operation, operation.builder. Build, that will call this particular ability. This is the basic way of doing it. Let me, this is how you call. Till now I've told you about calling or transferring the call from, transferring the control from one ability to another ability. Now let's see how you can transfer data. Maybe I'm entering some details in first page. I want to take those details into my next page. So how do we do it? So so to do that, we have few callbacks within the, or we have few methods within the intent object, which will help us do carry out this particular task. That is, you can go to the documentation again over here. Okay, let me go in here again. Intent. Sorry. These are all the different kinds of actions. If you see over here, these are all the different kinds of actions that HarmonyOS has got within its own framework. So you don't have to define this. They are already defined within the framework. So in case you want to define something else, something that is customized to your requirement, you need to define it in your config.json. Got it? Yeah. So I was trying to search some parameter or a method that will help me to transfer the data from one ability to another ability, right? So let's check. Usually it should be some setter method, right? When I'm trying to set some data into my intent so that I can pass. Usually in Java code, if you are going to set some data or set some value, it will be an annotation. I mean, your Java method name will start with set. So I've just jumped on to all the methods that are beginning with set. Okay. Now it has got some set param. method, it is taking some key and value pair objects, key value pair objects. So let's try using them. If you see in the PPT also, I've already mentioned over here, you can basically use intent.setParam, define a key as per your requirement, or this is user defined. So you can define anything. Say I want to transfer from, I have a sign up ability, or say my calling ability is a sign up page, okay, where I'm entering all username and email, mobile, everything. From there, I want to take in that data and go into the next ability. So here you can see this is a key and this is a value. So values are getting stored in these particular keys. And then I'm building the operation builder using that particular action. And then I'm starting the ability. This is from the calling ability. In the target ability, that is the ability that is going to, that is target ability is nothing but the receiving, the ability that receives the intent. So basically when you do start ability, in the on start of your target ability, there will be a parameter called intent. So all the data that you have sent over here, that can be retrieved by retrieved using this particular argument. So from on start, I'm calling init views, right? In the init view, I'm initializing the views over here. So then I'm checking if intent is not equal to null. Then I'm making sure I'm setting the values. Username, user info name is nothing but a text field. All these are text fields. I'm just doing a set text, and then I'm retrieving the value that I have set over here. So one thing you must notice is the keys that you have used over here, user info name, has to be exactly the same over here. It is case sensitive. So in case you use a different case, it will not work. It will simply give you a null pointer exception, or I guess it will give you an illegal argument exception. Okay, so just make sure your keys are always the same. This is how you do it. Currently, I've taught you both how to transfer the control from one ability to another, and how to transfer the data also from one ability to another. Let's try some hands-on session now. Whatever we have taught, whatever I've taught you, any doubt you have in the theory part, guys? If you have understood or not, just let me know so that I'll have a clear idea.
Yes, sir, understood.
Okay, great. Okay, this is a demo app that I have prepared. All the prerequisite code I've already coded and kept. Whatever I have taught you, that part I'll let you know how you can do it over here. So if you see this code over here, just start my emulator for now. Okay, this is my demo application that I've prepared. Let me go to the code. Okay, any application, I'm just reiterating just so that you get a better understanding of HarmonyOS application. Any application that you open, it will go to your My Application, which extends ability package. From on initialize, it will go to your config.json. It will find the ability over here. Ability list will be mentioned over here. So here it has told main ability is the one that is defined here with system home. So it will go to main ability, since it is extending ability over here, and then it will go to on start. From on start, it will check the main route. Okay, so main ability slice is the slice that is actually getting routed from main ability. So let's get into main ability slice. Here, let's check the preview. I've already written some code, so let's check the preview over here. This is not required for now. So in main ability slice, let's check which layout is getting used. If you see here, layout ability main, this is the layout that is getting used. Check the previewer. Okay, so your layout is looking something like this. It's basically a sign up page: first name, last name, email, password, mobile. All of these are there. So on click of this, I have to go to next ability, that is, let's check how the next ability is already written so that you get a clear understanding. Let me show you the code also that is written over here so that you guys will get a good understanding of what is written. So what I've done is just all the fields I've defined here, same fields I have initialized. So from on start, it goes to, this will inflate the layout. Inflating in the sense it will just display this particular XML that is defined over here. Okay. Now Init Views, it will initialize all your fields over here. I've defined some error fields so that if I'm typing a username or if I'm typing an email, if it is not having a proper format, I'll display this particular field. This particular field is nothing but a text field itself. So it will just, there will be a text message saying some issue is there with your particular code. I mean, particular entry. So based on that, it will try to, based on that, user will have to change the text. So this is nothing but just initialization of the views. Then init listeners, here the listeners will be initialized. Listeners as in, since I'm checking for the errors on the runtime over here, or the when user is typing, I've used some listeners basically that are text observers for each of the fields: first name, last name, email, password, mobile. So on click of the submit, this is where our code will come into picture, right? On click of submit, that is your sign up page. What is it doing? I'm just checking if there are any errors or issues in any of these fields. Error fields, this is if any of these fields are empty, I'll display a particular error message. If any of the error fields are being displayed, I'll make sure a toast message is being displayed. Okay. And then I'll check if no error messages are being displayed, then I'll have to transfer my control from one ability to the next ability. That will check how we can do it. Now, after, let's prepare our second ability also. That also I've prepared. Just check the layout for now. Okay. This is user info ability. So what I'm preparing is, let me show you the layout first. A user info card. Okay. This is just a card layout. I've done it more simpler so that you guys, nothing sophisticated or complicated is here. Just few text components are there, which will display some information from the previous slice. Got it? So what is happening is, these are all the hard-coded values. Don't think that already it is working. So I've actually hard-coded these values over here. So that is why you can see these values. So basically, now you might have already got an understanding. Seeing whatever you enter in that sign-up form, I want to convert it into this particular ID card or a user info card. Got it? That is what we'll be doing today. So let's get into that application. Currently, only the hard-coded values are being displayed. Let's see how we can transfer the control and transfer the data from that ability to user info ability slice. Since this is being called in slice, okay, so one slice communicating with another slice, there is an easier way to do it. Okay, let me just show you. What I have done now is all the email, all the fields, all the data present in each and every field, I've created a bean class, okay, just for my reference. And this bean class in the sense a simple Java class that will have getters and setters. Let me show it to you. You can see here, this is just a simple Java class having getters and setters, nothing else. So I've created a bean, done all the setters for each and every field. Then I'll just call present. Since I'm communicating between two different slices, just remember that part. What is present take? It will take a target slice and an intent. So I can specify my target slice, that is user info slice, new of user info ability slice, comma, intent. I have not defined my intent yet. Intent. Intent. And then intent dot, as I've already told you, param user info name, right? User dot get first name. I can minimize this. give a space. Since it's taking the name, I'll not specify first name and last name. I'll specify both of them. Okay. Then intent dot set param user info underscore password user dot get password. But I'll tell you. What else is remaining? Email, right? Email dot get email and intent dot set param. This is my user defined keys, so I'll make sure it is the same everywhere. Dot get mobile number. So my intent is ready. Since password, I don't think it's ideal to print the password. I'll remove it. It's not required. Okay. Only these three and then we'll go. So I'll pass this intent over here. Got it. So yeah, pretty much this. Now let me just run the application. I don't want variable. So let's run it on TV, I guess. Why not TV? Yeah. Let's see if it works. This is for communication between two slices. Later we'll check how we can do it for yeah. Say Captain Mike. Just enter everything. What is the next field? I'm just entering some dummy values. Mobile number takes in 10 digits, so I'm typing in 10 digits. Then sign up. I can see a user info card over here. That is okay. What is actually happening here? I'm just sending in the data, but I'm not doing anything on the receiving end, right? So let's do that part also over here. So if you see the receiving ability slice, this is getting called over here, right? Yeah. So here we need to define all the views are already initialized. So just go ahead with this dot set text intent dot get string. Yeah. Dot get set text. I can just copy paste this, change these names. Okay. Let me make sure my keys are the same. Info name, info email, and info mobile. Done. Rerun it again. Okay. Some Tom. @gg.com. What is the next field? Password. So some number with a special character. Mobile. Let me enter a mobile number. Just 10 digit, any number. Okay. Once I've done it, I can see the data is reflected over here, right? The user info card is generated. So this is how you do it when it is communication between two different slices. When it comes to, say now I want the same data, if in case the target slice is not actually a slice, it is a ability. Okay, now let's get into that detailedly. Let me create a ability class over here. Info ability. Finish. Could not be created. It already exists. Okay, since we already have it, we need the data also. So I'll just retain it, call it something else. Just call it second ability for now. Okay. Finish. Now I have an ability created here. Ability slice is created. Config.json, if you go, that is also listed over here. Now let's see how I can, I'll just try to put this data completely, whatever is here, into my second ability slice. I'll tell you why. Because second ability will be calling in second ability slice. So for that purpose, I'll delete this file for now. Delete. Okay. Delete. Now I have two abilities: main ability slice, and from here second ability slice. We have second ability also that will internally call second ability slice. Now main ability, we don't require this second ability slice for now. Let's take this scenario also. Say our target abilities, target UI is not actually a slice. Let's say it is an ability, because ability also can consist of a UI parts, which we have not tried till now, I think. So just let's make sure we try that once. So I'll delete this and paste the content over here. I don't want this. Okay. Now I have two abilities, one main ability slice, second ability comes here. It's doing the required work. Perfect. Now go to resources, layout, and ability second. This is also something I don't want. I can use ability user info itself, right? Second ability. Okay, now let's check the issues that are present. Have you guys understood what I'm trying to do here? If you're not able to get, just let me know. I think we can discuss it. I'm just trying to use the same data and then put it into an ability so that you guys will understand how to call it from call a target ability from the calling ability. Okay, because previously we checked it on a slice. So now you can see that present is giving an error. Why? Okay, there is no slice in the sense. Okay, let me pass the second ability itself. Is it able to take? No, it's telling required type is ability slice, not second ability. That is an ability. So I can't use present over here. So what I do is I create an intent. Intent is already created, so I don't have to worry about that. So intent dot, this is also just do start ability. You do this and then make sure you pass in the intent. Okay, this is explicit way of calling the intent. I hope you guys have understood. Okay. So once you do that, what happens? simply doing this will not work. Sorry. You need to do as per the documentation, you need to pass in the, you're not defining any target ability over here, right? So let's do that. Intent dot operation builder. Operation builder is equal to, and then operation builder dot device ID. Let's give it empty with ability name. What is our ability name? Second ability dot class with bundle name is important, without which it will not work. Since it's going to be the same bundle name, I just do this because package name is the same for both the abilities. I've done this. Okay. Now, did I mention the ability name? Yeah, I think that should be okay. Now I need to make sure my intent is having the set operation builder. So how do I do it? Operation builder dot build. Done. That is it. Now let me run it once. Yeah, test run. I'll give some dummy data quickly because I don't want to spend time on filling up this form. Okay, need some extra numbers. Give it. You can see the transfer of data worked and the control has also worked. So it's quite good. Now let's check how we can do using how we can do the same thing implicitly by just mentioning. Here we are mentioning this, right? We'll remove this. We'll try with action. Say, when I say action, define the action dot user info, maybe display. This is okay for me. So once you do this, go to your config.json. And your user info ability, or your user info ability is not the one, right? We have used second ability, so we need to put it here. So let me just take this content, put it here. Entities is not required, just actions is okay. Okay. What is this? Config.json. Perfect. I have defined it here. So when it comes to second ability, it will find this act. I mean, when the system gets action user info display as an action, there is an ability defined with this particular action. So immediately it will work. I mean, this particular ability will get triggered. So let's get in with this and then start. Now we have made sure we have removed the ability name. Only the action is defined. Let's see how it works. If it works or not. Okay, let me do it again very quickly. FF and user. So sign up FF, even this worked. So implicit worked, explicit worked, and you saw the communication between two different slices. Okay. So, but if you see here, I still have a concern over here. When I'm transferring the data, okay, I have to, in case I have these are only 3 fields, so it is okay. I don't want to be using so many user-defined keys. This could lead to some error, right? In case I miss some letter or character, it'll of course give me errors. So what will be the easiest way you think I can actually pass on the data to the second ability? Here we are passing each field separately, right? Email, password, first name, last name, mobile number. But how would it be better if we can reduce this much of boilerplate code, like defining each one separately and then passing it?
Create an object.
Yeah, creating an object, we've already created a bean object, right? So if we pass this object directly, it will be much better, correct? Instead of doing this separately. Yeah. So let's understand what is serialization. Okay. So what is serialization? This is a general Java concept. Let's understand this in detail so that you guys will also be benefited by this explanation, whatever I'm going to give. Okay. Any doubt, you can stop me and ask me in between again. What is serialization? Serialization is nothing but breaking down a particular object and then converting it into a byte stream. Okay, that is called serialization. And deserialization is something that does the vice versa. So I create an object and convert it into a byte stream, and from byte stream I convert it into object. Why do we do this? Because object is actually a Java concept or a OOPS concept, correct? But sending it over a network or transferring it or using it in any communication components, this is not ideal. Not all of the platforms will support transferring of objects. So in that case, we need to send it in a byte stream. So this is where serialization will come into picture. So if you understood whatever I told you, that is basically what is serialization. Okay. So let's see that in detail. Whatever I have explained you, it is present over in this slide. So serialization is a mechanism of writing the state of an object into a byte stream. Deserialization is a mechanism where byte stream is converted into an object. So exactly the reverse of deserialization. So how do we do serialization? You can see in the picture. Let me enlarge it so that you guys get a better clarity. Okay, if you see this picture, an object is there converted into byte stream, and then you'll store it in some persistent storage, say file, memory, or it could be database. Okay, and later when you want to use that particular data, you convert it back into byte stream, and then you convert it back into, later when you want to use that data, when you fetch it from the memory, file, or database, it will be a byte stream, right? That byte stream you need to convert it into an object and then use that object, and from there and then go on further with your coding. I hope that is clear. So how do we do the serialization? We use write object method of object output stream class. Okay, and for deserialization, we call the read object for object input stream. Basically, input objects will usually do reading, and then output objects will usually do the writing part. So serialization, we use output objects or write objects because we need to write down we need to convert that object into byte stream and store it somewhere, and then we need to read that object from that byte stream. So we use read object or object input stream. So with serialization in Java, this is the code snippet, just a small code snippet so that you get a better understanding of what is serialization. I've defined a file path called data.ser, and then there is a string object, say Java serialization is cool. Okay. Now, how do I do serialization on this file? I define an object file output stream, and then I pass in the file path. Why do I pass in a file path? Because after converting that object into a byte stream, I need to store it somewhere into a particular file, right? That is this particular file in this file path, that is data.ser. Now, once I create a file output stream, I create a object output stream and then pass in this file output stream as an argument over here. Now, this file output stream will actually do the writing object. I mean, it will take in the Java object as your argument, and then it will convert that string object into byte stream, and then it will store it, or it will write it into this particular file that you have sent as an argument to file output stream. Because both of them are connected to each other. Once this output stream writes this, basically gets the string object here, it will serialize it and then store it in this particular file path. Got it? This is how serialization is done. Now let's check how deserialization happens. Now we have stored that particular Java serialization is cool, or Java serialization is cool, right? That you have converted it and put it into a particular file called data.scr into in a byte stream format. Now let's see how you can convert that byte stream format back into string object. So you instantiate a file output stream, a new file input stream, and then pass in this file path. And from here, object input stream, that is input stream, you define an object of object input stream so that it can do some reading of the object. And then you pass in that file input stream that you have defined above. Once you do that, input stream dot read object. So this will return some string object. So basically this will be reading your file. It will read through your byte stream, and then it will convert the byte stream into string object and then return you that value. So that value, you can store it in your string message. So if you do system.out.println here, you can see the string that you have passed in here. Got it? This is basically serialization. Why do we need to do this much of circus? Because or this much of task is because over the network or storing it somewhere, you can't store the objects. So that is why we need to do all this. Got it? So let's see a bit complex example to what we have seen previously. Previously, you would have seen we have used string object. If you see string object itself is a string object itself is a serializable object. If you see string documentation in Google, a string object will be extending a serializable interface. Suppose you are extending a serializable interface yourself for any particular object, say class student. Here it is implementing serializable, and then it has few data variables, and you have a constructor over here. Okay. So you can see here, this is how you implement serialization for your own custom class. Got it? Any doubt on this? Basically, the serialization part, converting it into byte stream, and then converting the byte stream back into your actual code or your object, that will be taken care by using reflection mechanism. So you need not worry. You just need to you just need to add this out here. And then here, if you see, there are two particular variables here, serial version UID, and then there is a keyword called transient, right? Let me explain you what is transient. In case you don't want to serialize this particular variable within this class, you add this keyword transient age. So this will not be stored anywhere. Okay. So this is how you prevent a particular variable from getting serialized. This serial version UID is actually used in serialization. You mentioned this, say in two different processes. Okay, let me put it in this way. You're executing an application where there is a need for inter-process communication, saying there are two different processes. And in one process, that is one particular application A, and second process is an application B. They both want to communicate with each other. Application A wants to pass some data to application B. So it will pass in some data using serialization. So you define this particular class in both the applications, basically. Okay. So how does it identify that it is the same class, or it is the same class that it needs to deserialize the particular byte stream using this serial version UID? Just for this ID is basically used to recognize a particular class, saying this stream data is of that particular class, so that I need to serialize this particular byte stream into particular custom object. Got it?
So that will be system defined.
Yeah, this will be system defined. I'll let you know that in the next slide. I'll let you know that. Okay. See, I've just given the explanation over here. Serial version UID is a constant that uniquely identifies a version of a serializable class. The JVM checks this constant during deserialization process when an object is being constructed from an input stream. This is the actual functionality of the serial version UID. And transient variables, this I've already explained. If you want to skip the serialization process, use transient keyword. And static variables are not, these are the key pointers. Okay, static variables will not be serialized, and in case you want to serialize a collection of an array, every element must be serializable. A single non-serializable will cause the serialization to fail. Even if one element is present in your particular, say your custom class is having custom objects within it, and they are not serializable objects, then your serialization will fail if they are not marked as transient. Got it? So every object within every objects within the particular object class that you want to serialize, they need to be serializable. Okay. And regarding, I think that I've not mentioned over here, whatever you have asked, serial version UID, that is actually yours. If you don't define it yourself, this particular ID, it will be system, there will be a default ID that will be generated. In case you want to define, ideally, it's better if you can define it yourself so that you will understand what exactly is happening. So recommended way is user has to do it. In case user doesn't do it, default JVM will assign a UID, and then it will assign to that particular serializable custom class. Got it? I hope your query is clear. Whoever asked the question.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's check the use cases of serialization. Storing objects data into a file on disk. That I've already told you. Disk in the sense your a hard drive or your internal memory. And in case you're playing some games, the state of the game can be stored into a file on disk using serializable. And in case you want to transfer some data, whatever example I've given you, over the network, if you want to pass, or for any IPC purpose also, you can use serialization. And transferring objects between different components in HarmonyOS. This is what we were trying to check, right? If we can transfer some objects from one component to another component. Now let's check what are the limitations of serializable interface or serialization. That is a Java concept. Serialization actually uses reflection mechanism to generate the code based on member variables. Okay, since it's a reflection code, always there will be some generated code. Okay, since there is a generated code, there will be many temporary objects that are created, which will not be used. So these temporary objects might not come into garbage collection immediately. So this will lead to unnecessary memory consumption, and there will be some slowness to the performance of your application. So these two are basic, or these two are actually major setbacks of serialization. So let's see how we can overcome these setbacks in HarmonyOS using one of the API. What is that API? That is nothing but, or what is that class? That is nothing but sequenceable. We have a thing called sequenceable, or a class called you can call it as an interface. Okay, that is better. We have sequenceable interface in HMOS that will help us do the task of serialization in HMOS. So here the reflection will not be used in sequenceable. Rather, user needs to write the custom code for marshalling and unmarshalling. Unmarshalling and marshalling, you can simply take it as deserialization and serialization. Okay, don't worry about what is marshalling and unmarshalling. Just consider it as serialization and deserialization for your easier understanding. So one particular thing is you need to remember is, if you want to store the data into persistent storage, that is database basically, then better use serialization itself instead of sequenceable, because sequenceable will be using some parcel object also. So in case you're doing any changes in your parcel object at one point of time, after you have done an initial change, your older data will become corrupted if you use sequenceable for using it in persistent storage. So you better stick to serialization for storing the data in persistent storage. I hope you guys understood. Let me show you an example. Okay, first let me show you this particular example. Then we'll check it in our code, whatever we have done a demo, right? We'll do that in our demo, how using sequenceable itself. Got it? So this is sequenceable code, custom class using sequenceable. I have two variables, number and name. This is marshalling and unmarshalling. So in marshalling, this is serialization. I have a parcel out. This is a reference to a parcel object. So this parcel object, into this parcel object, you need to write in your data that you want to serialize, or you want to send it across anywhere. Okay, so you do out.write int because it is a number, and then you pass in the number, out.write string, and then pass a string object. That is it. What happens, this particular reference will be used by whoever will be using that reference will be passing it across the network or storing it somewhere. Now unmarshalling, you receive the data that was serialized before, you want to deserialize or unmarshal it. You just use read int and read string operations here. Always make sure this order is maintained. Okay, write int, if you do here first, make sure this read int is happening here first, and then out.write string is happening here. So make sure this comes second. Don't inverse, or don't do it, don't mix up the order over here. So you have this variable also, sequenceable.producer. This will trigger the unmarshalling. Basically what you're doing over here, producer, even user can himself call in this dot create from parcel and pass in a parcel object. Okay, what happens, you create an example class instance, and then you unmarshal that parcel, whatever you have passed in this argument, and then you return that particular instance. This instance is nothing but your example instance. Okay, I feel you would have got some 50% idea from this example. Let us do an example. Let us try this same concept into our code, and then try how we can do it. Okay, I've taken an easier example because I've not tried doing an inter-process communication. I initially thought, but I thought it will be a bit difficult for you guys to grasp that concept if I start in with the inter-process communication, because inter-process communication is itself a different concept which you need to be aware before you dive into this. So I thought you guys can understand this quite clearly if we use serialization for transfer of objects between different components. Okay, so we have an object here. So all this code I'll just simply remove. Now let me, first things first, let me go to the bean class. I need to implement. You guys can prompt me, I think maybe that is better if you guys are okay with that. So what I've done is I've implemented sequenceable to the bean class that I've defined. Now I've got some error here. It is showing some error. What is the error? Class must either be declared or implement abstract methods marshalling in sequenceable. So it's telling some unimplemented methods are there in this interface. Please implement. So how do I do it? I can click on that method interface, alt enter, implement methods. Okay, I would just want these two, so I'll just keep it. So I have marshalling and unmarshalling over here. So in marshalling, I need to write the data, right? So let's try this out. I'll change this name to out and in so that you guys can easily understand. So if out dot write string first name out dot write string last name sorry then email, right? Let me take in the mobile number. These are the variables I want to serialize, correct? If all these are successfully written, I'll return true. In case there is some issue, let it return false. If this will happen only if this is false, right? So let's keep it like this. And unmarshalling part, I would have received some data over here, parcel data. So I need to store it into my member variables. So in dot read string, the first string will take in the first name because I'm writing it first. This dot last name in dot root string again. I'll just copy this because this is going to be the same. Okay. Mobile number. Done. This can be true after that. Hope it's clear till now. Now let's see how we can pass this object. Intent. So I need to prepare the intent with the data. So how can I do it? Dot. I have a method here. Set sequenceable array list param. So what this is doing is, let me check the definition of this. Sorry. Yeah, if you see here, set sequenceable array list param, this sets up value of array list of sequenceables. So when I pass in the data, I need to pass in a parameter, I need to pass in a array list, right? So let's make sure we do that. So key can be single thing, user info I'll pass. Now I need to pass in an array list. Let me prepare the array list. Array list. What is it? User, right? User is the one that is sequenceable. User list I'll call is equal to array list. Now user list dot add, then I add in this. I've prepared an array list and I've put in the user object over here, and then that particular array list I'll pass in over here. Got it? Any doubt till here, guys? Hello? Hope you guys are understanding whatever I'm telling. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, since I've passed in the user list over here, I need to do the required change in the receiving area also, right? So go in here. I can remove all this. Intent dot sequenceable is there? Sequenceable array list param. Let me use this. And then this will return, I need to use in the same key. Used. This will return me an array list, right? Correct, no? Let me check. Right, it returns me an array list. Just import it, takes in the list. Now what I need to do is user list dot get of 0, right? That is okay. I'll take it into a user object itself here. This is again import. What is this? Import class. Okay. It was just telling it was returning an object. So I've just cast it back into user info here. Make sure the ID is right so that you don't mess it up later. Second ability. Now we need to do this part. User info name dot set text user dot first name last name user info email dot set text user dot sorry, yeah, mobile dot set mobile set text itself, right? get mobile number. And that is all. Let's check if this works, or if there is any issue, we'll check it out. Okay. That is all you need to do. Let me run it for the last time. Hopefully. Let me make it a bit more bigger. Call it www. Pass in some email address or @.com, and password could be anything with a special character, then a mobile number. Yeah. Now it was sign up. There is a crash. Let me check what is the crash over here. Okay, it is just this is how you can check the crashes easily. I need to reproduce this issue because it's a fatal error. I think I'm overshooting the time. Okay, we'll try to wind this up in next 5 minutes if possible. Okay, just fix this issue. I think I'm pretty much done with the presentation. If you guys have any queries, just keep it ready. We'll discuss it. Okay, it is telling no producer for class demo.user. So what we have missed out is this producer, whatever I've shown you in the PPT, right? This producer part, this is not present. So let's add that part and then we'll try to check again. So maybe we add it like this: public static find sequenceable. Sorry. So create from parcel. So in here, I can create the instance. User is equal to new user, and then user dot unmarshal, pass in the parcel here and return it. Return instance itself instead of